morning, you're watching Sky News Breakfast. With us this morning to review the papers are Bidisha Mamata and Emma Wolf. First though, let's take a quick look at the front pages. King of Peace, says the Mirror, after the monarch called for tolerance and respect between faiths in his Christmas message. The Daily Mail leads with a similar headline of the King's Christmas plea for peace. The Sun leads with all is forgiven, as Sarah Ferguson made her first appearance at the royal family's Christmas Day service in decades. The Daily Express claim experts are warning the Bank of England to cut interest rates quickly to kickstart the economy. Then, according to the Times, Labour are plotting an alternative to the Conservative Rwanda asylum plan. Meanwhile, the Eye reports that the Tories are facing a new general election threat from the party of Nigel Farage. The Telegraph is critical of what it's calling a postcode lottery of menopause drug availability. And The Guardian has an exclusive saying government policy to deal with childhood obesity is leading to a child health time bomb. And the Daily Star focused their front page on rats who have been eating cars in a record rise in critter damage. Yes, really. Okay, well, Bidisha and Emma, thank you both for being with us. Bidisha, let's start with you. Sun, page 2, and this is fresh peace plan as Blitz kill 100. I mean, now we're hearing of 200 people dead over the past 24 hours or so in Gaza. I mean, it all looks a little bit hopeless if you think that we just heard the Benjamin Netanyahu saying, you know, the war is nowhere near finished.
Yeah, and you've been covering this very extensively, so we all know that this phrase, fresh peace plan, is a hope and a wish and a desire rather than anything that's happening on the ground or politically. I think the thing to focus on today, given that it's Boxing Day, it should be a time of peace all over the world and harmony amongst peoples, is the speeches given recently by the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Pope in Rome, as we see here in the illustrated article. Both of them make the point that the thing that we should hold in common are principles of peace and principles of harmony and justice and working together. And in fact, the Archbishop of Canterbury had a really strong phrase. He said that he decries the appalling harvest of innocent civilian victims. So he's talking really here about collective punishment and civilian deaths and all of the euphemisms that he used in war, like collateral damage. He's saying, no, this has got nothing to do with that. We just want peace to happen. And what he's saying is remarkably political. I mean, usually the Pope and the Archbishop err on the side of using platitudes.
They speak out on behalf of victims, but not quite as strong.
This is really quite pointed, though, and it's in line with what very large bodies like the UN and the WHO have said. So in one sense, this is not controversial. These are world figures, world organizations, and yet at the same time, of course, there are what we all hope for the world and what's really happening.
And worth pointing out that this fresh peace plan is actually Egypt trying to broker a truce in Gaza, speaking with Hamas, because there's a lot of meetings, you know, there's Security Council, and then there's meetings sometimes in Doha. Egypt gets involved, and it's all about trying to figure out what happens after the violence stops. But as you mentioned, we're very far from that. So, Emma, Mirror, pages 2 and 3, a lovely picture of the royal family, I think leaving church at this point for Christmas Day and Mass, a time to unite.
Yeah, well, actually, it leads on well from what Bidisha was saying there about, world figures world leaders using their profile to maybe err into the political kind of sphere, but I don't think so, actually. When you look at what King Charles has been talking about, he's talking about, harmony in the face of these tragic conflict. He's not taking sides. He's talking about peace. But he's also using his platform, I think really interestingly, to raise other issues. He's talking about protecting the earth, which is one of his absolute passions, obviously climate change and environmentalism. And also talking about communities and the really important work that communities do. And it may sound like nothing, but actually that's all we have really in our societies is people helping each other. All we really have is communities and the environment that we live in. So he's raising some very, very important issues, and he's praising those who are devoted to service, which of course evokes his mother, the late Queen, but also sets the tone, I think, for his sort of, as he goes into his second year of being our king.
Yeah. Let's go to the Telegraph now, page 2. Bidisha, I'll start with you, but actually, Emma, I'd love to get your view on it as well. So fear that nice advice will stop women It's not come up. We'll stop women seeking HRT. This is for perimenopausal or menopausal women. What's the story?
It's quite an interesting one. It made me raise an eyebrow because it's also on the front page of the same paper, and it's all about pointing out that for women seeking hormone replacement therapy at the menopausal stage of their life, it's really a postcode lottery. But I smiled slightly because the tone of the article is about saying, well, you know, you get it best if you're living in a well-appointed urban area and you're sharp-elbowed and middle class, meaning that if you're posh enough to make a fuss, you can make your GP sort it out. And if not, then you lose out. But this nice advice from one of the health bodies said that, okay, if you can't get your HRT, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, might help with things like hot flashes. And I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor. I just want to say, I 100% think that may not be true. That if you have a sort of medical issue, you don't want to talk about childhood trauma or your relationship with your parents or anything like that. That it might help in life, but I'm not sure it really helps with specific hormonal changes that make your body go hot and cold and give you night sweats. So much as I love the idea of just talking it out, that's why this is controversial. And I think NICE would say, look, okay, this is only just trying to give patients a feeling of being empowered and having options. But I don't think it's got anything to do with the specifics of HRT therapy. But hey, let's do it if it helps.
Emma, what did you make of this story?
Well, no, I think it makes a good point that actually many health outcomes are dependent on being quite pushy, quite informed, quite educationally kind of aware, maybe Googling it, finding fighting your corner. I know for a fact when my father was dying of cancer, we got access to treatments, which because we, me and my family found out about, we found the right consultant. We sent probably pushy emails saying, could we come and see you? So I do think that poorer people or people who don't have maybe access or that sense of entitlement or, the confidence and ease within a system where you have to push, you have to kind of demand the best for your child, demand the best for your aging father, whatever it is. So I think there is a serious side to that, which is, HRT is difficult to access in some, and there's been shortages over recent years. And I think maybe some women will just go through this time of their life in their 40s or 50s or whatever and not push for the right treatment. So, doctors need to be aware that people may not come to them with a list the way that middle class pushy people might come.
And I guess the women need to be aware that there is this postcode lottery as well.
But that they do have, they do have rights and that they should be able to access the treatment that they need.
Okay, let's go to, I think it's the Eye, page 16. The story that Sky actually covered, well, we covered it a lot, but we had this specific angle because it's XL bullies still waiting to be rehoused before the ban. Now, the ban kicks in the new year, and they can still be, they can still be rehomed. But tell us a little bit more of what happens if they don't.
Okay, so the ban is seen as, actually, for many people see it as a bit of a fudge. The ban is on breeding, selling, advertising, rehoming, abandoning, and or allowing your XL bully dog to stray. They're going to have to be wearing muzzles. There are still XL bully dogs. I mean, look, for me, the clue is in the name. It's clearly an aggressive, status symbol, threatening dog. It's called XL bully dog. These are highly bred dogs to be specifically violent and aggressive. And we've seen in the last 3 years, there's been 12 fatal incidents. There's been children attacked. It's really, these dogs are not a good thing. They are often kept by quite irresponsible owners. But with just days to go before this ban kicks in, many animal rescue charities are still have dogs that are being advertised for rehoming. Even the RSPCA has dogs that are, XL bully dogs that are looking for new homes. So it does.
And they won't be able to be adopted.
They won't. And it does beg the question: what's going to happen to all these dogs? And also, how is this ban going to take shape? You need the owners to be responsible. Really, I mean, there was some footage of a woman struggling. You probably saw it on online. A woman struggling to control two huge XL bully dogs on the tube in Stratford in East London. And these dogs were really, and if you've got children, I've got a 3-year-old, if you have children that are down at that level, the pram kind of level, these kind of dogs, or for anyone really, these dogs can be very, very frightening just to see them that out of control on the streets when even their owners are struggling to control them. So I think we have to ask, what are we going to do with these breeds? You can't just destroy dogs, but how are we going to keep them in control? And there's also worry that the muzzles might make them more aggressive because they're not used to them.
And like you say, we're days away from the ban actually taking place, so I guess we'll find out how it works in practice. Bidisha, the Daily Mail, I think it's page 23, another animal story. After clashes, hunters vow to defy animal rights activists. A traditional Boxing Day hunt.
Yeah, so this is really about protecting animals. There's a traditional hunt in East Sussex in Boxing Day. It used to be a fox hunt before the ban in the mid-2000s, and now apparently the former fox hunters say, well, it's just a sort of trail run. We use a false scent, and then we just all run around the countryside for just fresh air and exercise. And animal rights activists are saying, no, this is not true. It's a front for actual fox hunting. And they've tried to tie this up with legal tape and say they're going to do a wheelbarrow run in order to benefit a food bank. And the local councillor are saying, well, that means you want to cut off the high street. That means you really want to block off the route of this fox hunt. We don't know if the fox hunt is really a fox hunt or not, but I also think that this is a cultural issue, that there shouldn't be a fox hunt. There also shouldn't be a fake one, as if the ex-fox hunters are somehow trying to reprise the olden days when you could do these things and nobody complained about you. Can't they find something else to do? Can't they all go for a jog together or something, or just ride horses round and round in a circle? So the activists are saying, look, we want to destroy the culture and the belief system that underlies fox hunting, not just the technicality of whether a fox is involved or not.
Bidisha and Emma, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but we will, of course, see you in the next hour. Thank you so much for going through the papers.